1 minute till broadcast. One minute till broadcast. Seconds till broadcast. Five, four, three, two, one. Begin transmission.
Fighting for freedom every day.
Let me tell you, the response to the show has been absolutely amazing. People can't believe that a young conservative millennial continues to fight for constitutional principles, traditional values, and talks about issues that some are even afraid to talk about. But we do it because we understand the importance of this. And now we're seeing it absolutely blow up all across the nation.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
This is the Voice of Reason. Welcome into it as we go through a Wednesday today. Great to have you along for the ride today. Broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation on the flagship radio station of the Big Talker KQAM out of Wichita, Kansas. All over the country on radio, TV, live streaming, online at HoosierReason.com. You can also find us on the social media at Hoosier Reason as we're on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn, and really everywhere else, plus the podcasting that you can find as well. Great to have you today. I don't know if you're aware or not, but the media kind of stinks at asking questions. I'm just kind of throwing it out there. It's their job to do investigations, like investigative journalism, do journalism, report the news, ask like really detailed questions or get more detail about an issue. That's usually what their job is supposed to be about. But that's not what they have actually been doing. Show of hands, anybody actually watched President Trump's daily press briefing regarding the COVID-19 virus? I did because we broadcast it on our radio stations, but did you really get anything from it? From at least not from President Trump, but from the media. I want to get into that in just a second. We have Congressman Bob Latta coming on at the bottom of the hour. He's the congressman from the 5th Congressional District in the state of Ohio, so he'll be joining us at the bottom of the hour. Looking forward to chatting with him. Donald Trump, though, he's changed his tone quite a bit. Now, I don't mean like the content of what he's actually saying. I'm talking about his actual tone. Do you think he's tired? Do you think he's fed up and frustrated? Or do you think that he's just trying to act more professional and elite? Not necessarily elite like the elitists that we fight against in D.C. all the time, but just acting of, this is what I'm doing. I'm going through the grind. Just leave me alone. Let me do my thing. If you remember all the way back towards the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, and he was doing the daily press briefings, and they were like 3-4 hours long at times, and he was having the whole task force there, and the doctors would talk, and then he'd do some Q&A with them, and he'd have Mike Pence talk, and he does this whole elaborate thing. Now it's out. He says a few things. He takes like 3 questions, and then he walks off, and he doesn't get fired up. He doesn't get energized. He's just very monotone. And I don't know that I'm necessarily worried, but it's different. The Donald Trump that you and I voted for and that you and I are used to are the Donald Trump that goes out into a crowd of 100,000 people in a stadium and gets all riled up and cracks the jokes and does the thing. And it's a little bit different with a press conference, especially there in the press briefing room. But at the same time, it's Donald Trump. And you want the Trumpisms. That's why the ratings for TV was at an all-time high at those times, and everybody tuned in to hear what Donald Trump had to say during the coronavirus press briefings. Number one, because they wanted to get educated. Number two, because it was entertaining. And he would spar with the media, and he would go back and forth. I don't know if it's because he's been dragged through the mud so terribly much that he's just kind of tired and over it. I don't know if the media is finally getting to him because they're harping on him. It's been 4 years of this nonstop, or if it's just because he doesn't care anymore. Not care about like actually doing it, but not care about trying to spar, trying to win them over, trying to educate them. He just doesn't care anymore. It's a lost cause. So he just walks out, does his thing, answers a couple questions, and he doesn't back down by any means. It's just a different demeanor. I don't know. I don't really know how to put my finger on it. But are you losing confidence in Trump because of his change in demeanor? Where he's not feisty. He's not, let's just put it this way, he's not as feisty as what he used to be. Is that different for you, and is that making you lose a little or question him just a little bit, or is it just because of his style? You know what? I don't have time for you. Here's the news. Here's the information. Do you have a question? Here's what's going on. Boom. All right, out the door, and let's get back to business. I would think it's the latter. I'm more certain that it is the latter, but of course, the media is going to twist it and say, look at that. He's tired. He's wore out. He's overwhelmed. Nancy Pelosi's calling it the Trump virus now. It's not the Wuhan virus. It's not the Chinese virus. It's not the virus that spread through the biological world that we're going to get sick from. No, it's Trump's virus because he's handled it so terribly that he tried to shut things down too early, and then we opened up too early, and he's just been off the ball this entire time. That's, of course, going to be their mantra. But then the media just asks the dumbest questions that I think I've ever heard. Why you listen to the Q&A? Well, we listen to the Q&A because we want to hear Donald Trump shut them down, which is kind of what he did. There were a few different questions where I just scratched my head, and I just wondered, really? Really? That's what you got?
Two questions are with Andrew Feinberg and J.C. Bua. One is, today you said you're sending federal law enforcement officers to run cities run by extreme politicians, that's the word you used, who happen to be all Democrats, who have supported Black Lives Matter protests. Millions of Americans voted.
All right, first off, what does that have anything to do with COVID-19? This is a meeting to give an update about the virus, about a global pandemic that you're saying he's not paying enough attention to and actually addressing properly. So then when you get a chance to ask him about things, it's not about testing units. It's not about N95 masks. It's not about PPEs for different hospitals. It's not about trying to assist the hospitals. It's not about the death rate. It's not about the positive rate. It's about you called Democrat leaders, called them out, and they're Democrats, and you said they're running things horribly. They're Democrats are in large cities. Why are you such an evil racist? Those are the kind of questions that you get during a media press briefing regarding COVID-19. Again, proper journalism, I guess, right?
It is supported. No, I said Democrat politicians, and these are the cities where you have the problem. If you look at Chicago, if you look at Detroit, look around any of these cities where we have the problems, and we're sending them help, but we're really waiting for them to call for the big help, for the big numbers, for the large numbers of people that we have ready, willing, and able. You look at Chicago, where 14 people were shot yesterday, where over the weekend many people died and many people were shot, and over the last month they're setting record numbers. We are waiting for the mayor, respectfully, and other mayors and governors to call us. We are ready, willing, and able to go in there with great force.
I guess he's not backing down. He is still kind of feisty. He's just not the same old kind of, I don't know, maybe there's something different. Maybe it's just the years of presidency that's wearing on him. Or maybe he just doesn't care anymore and he doesn't have to raise his voice. But it's a proper response. I mean, you called these Democrats out. Why did you do that? They're all Democrats. They all supported Black Lives Matter, trying to turn it into a race thing. And he says it has nothing to do with Black Lives Matter. If Black Lives Matter, why don't we have riots in Chicago right now for 13 people getting shot over the weekend? In one weekend! Why don't we have people actually protesting that and getting upset about that? Oh, that's right, because it's black-on-black shootings and no one really cares about that. It's only when a white cop shoots a black person then it's a big issue that causes a national outrage. But if a black-on-black person shoots each other in Chicago, who really cares? In a place, by the way, where they have some of the strongest gun regulations in the entire nation, so they shouldn't even have guns in the first place. But they do. So we have guns in the place where they're not supposed to, shooting people when you're not supposed to do that, and it's black on black crime, and no one cares. But then we need to have a national uprising because Black Lives Matter. And he's absolutely right. Name a city, and Mark Walters from Armed American Radio says this all the time, so I'm going to steal it from him. But name a city that has major issues. Name a city that has massive crime. Name a city that has shootings nonstop where you can't control them, and we'll tell you a city where it's run by Democrats, because that's exactly what's going on. You're not talking about a city run by Republicans or a small town run by Republicans that's rampant with crime. Andy, the population's not as high. True. But then why all of a sudden do we have high populations, and all of a sudden Democrats get elected, and all of a sudden they're out of money, and all of a sudden the education stinks in the inner city areas, and all of a sudden the crime rates are extremely high, and all of a sudden the gun regulations are out of this world? Why is there a correlation between all this? Why do you have to have a poop app to go to San Francisco because you can't walk the streets without figuring out where not to step? These are things that, would be common sense for most people. The media quite doesn't understand that, but how dare you criticize people who support Black Lives Matter? By default, then, according to the media, you're just a racist.
In 2016, you said it was President Obama's fault that homicides were up in Chicago. So why was it the president's fault then, but it's not your fault now?
Again, the whole coronavirus is really important. We really need to focus our attention on the coronavirus. How come you criticize Barack Obama for crime in Chicago being his fault, but it's not your fault now? He's got a proper response, and I'll play it in a second, but my response to that would be, well, he's from Chicago. He hailed Chicago as a great city. The whole Black Lives Matter thing has originated from a lot of the leaders in Chicago. Where's the crime? We're trying to. He said it properly in the last response was, we're sitting there ready. We can go in and clean these things up just like that. We can take care of these issues. We're waiting because you as a Democrat mayor or a Democrat governor, you're supposed to be handling this. And we're here ready for you. As soon as you call on us and say, Mr. President, we need your help. We can't handle it any longer. It's out of our hands. We are ready to jump on it. But no, you know what? I'm going to sit back and watch you shoot yourself in the foot. Because if your policies work oh so great and you hate me oh so much, then go ahead and deal with it, and I'll be there to save you at the end of the day. It's kind of like that parent when the kid's growing up in their early teens and they want to do things and they want to rebel and they want to do things on their own, and you can't tell me what to do. I know best, Mom and Dad. I know what I'm going to do better than you do. I'm going to figure it out. And you're like, all right, sit back and wait. And when they fall flat on their face, when they get in not necessarily trouble, but if they do something stupid and they get harmed or whatever, you're there to comfort them. You don't put them in the bubble to protect them and say, no, you're not allowed to. And you walk with them and hold their hand the entire step of the way. You let them. Fine. You know what? You want to be the rebellious one? You want to go off and do it yourself? All the power to you. Go for it. And then when they fall, then you pick them back up and you take care of them. You comfort them and you build them back up and say, you know what? It was a learning lesson. It was a life lesson. Now you move forward. That's what President Trump is, literally the parent for every child Democrat out there. And that's exactly what they are. The mentality of a Democrat child, because they're the ones that throw themselves onto the grocery store floor and throw the ultimate temper tantrum in the aisle because they didn't get the sucker that they actually wanted. They want police to be defunded. They want the economy to be completely shut down. They want people to be suffering. They want people on unemployment. They want the economy to be completely tanked so that way Trump has no chance to get elected again. And then when they don't get the things that they wanted, they throw an ultimate temper tantrum. They want crime to not be in the inner city, but they don't know how to do that because they don't understand common sense. So Trump, being the adult, I can handle it. We're ready. As soon as you call for us, we're ready to be there. But I'm not just going to walk in and do it because then I'm interfering and I'm overstepping my bounds with your power, and then you get upset because then I interfere and overstep my reach. So I'm just going to sit back and wait for you to call on me. But then it's his fault because he's not actually stepping in and intervening. That's just a dumb question, though.
In 2016, you said it was President Obama's fault that homicides were up in Chicago. So why was it the president's fault then, but it's not your fault now?
Chicago is a disaster. The mayor is saying, don't come in. The mayor is telling us not to come in. At some point, we can void that if we have to, but we may have to because it's out of control. I assume she's saying that for political reasons. I think it's negative political reasons. She's a Democrat. I'm going to be nice. She's a Democrat. She's making a big mistake. People are dying in Chicago and other cities, and we can solve the problem. They have to ask us, but we can solve the problem.
Was it President Obama's fault in 2016? You credited it as
Because
him
President
being in office.
Obama was invited in, and he did a poor job. President
And it was his
Obama
city.
could have gone into Chicago. He could have solved the problem. And
There it is. Dumb questions by the media. Absolutely dumb questions. The ultimate, though, that took the cake today, the one that actually took the cake for the dumbest question of all time in a media press briefing, was this one.
one or two more, please.
Yes, thank you. Would you like to respond to Joe Biden, who today described you might have heard that, as the first racist to be elected president? That was his words.
Well, you know what I'm saying?
Would you like to respond to Joe Biden's comments that you were the first racist president elected? Wow. Apparently someone, number one, doesn't know history, and number two is just really, really dumb. Let's respond to that one when we come back, shall we? Plus, we have Congressman Bob Latta from the 5th Congressional District in the state of Ohio coming on at the bottom of the hour with us. It's a Wednesday. Oh, we're going to tear this one to shreds. We have so much to get to. We're going to try and cram it all into possibly as much as we possibly can because there's just way too many things. So we'll do the best we can in 1 hour. It's the Voice of Reason. Lots more coming up. Stay here.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Hey, it's Andy Hoosier with the Voice of Reason. Fighting for conservative principles seems more difficult all the time. The progressive left seems to find new and creative ways to limit freedom, abuse power, and trample the Constitution each and every day. That's why we need the knowledge, resources, and common sense to push back, and we can help with that. Visit our website at HoosierReason.com. There's some really great stuff for you. You can read the latest blog discussing topical issues and current events. Let us know your thoughts by filling out our monthly survey. Keep track of what I might be doing or where I may be speaking. Listen to the podcast of your favorite guest or show, and check out our latest Voice of Reason product infomercials. Plus, you can find upcoming show schedules and guest lineups to plan your radio listening appropriately. And finally, make sure to become a Hoosier-holic by subscribing to the free newsletter. Stay up to date on the latest news of the show, fun facts of the month, and learn new ways to defend and preserve this great republic. It's all there at HoosierReason.com. Again, HoosierReason.com. Go check it out. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Hey, it's Andy Hoosier. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you, and we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts of the show, maybe a guest we've had on the program, or my favorite, when you disagree with something that I talk about. You can email me at HoosierMediaNetwork@gmail.com or send us a message through our website at HoosierReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you. So be heard and be your own voice of reason. Again, email me at HoosierMediaNetwork@gmail.com or find our contact information at HoosierReason.com. Miss part of the show? Don't worry about it. There's plenty of ways to catch the program, and here's how you can do it. First, make sure to tune in every day right here on your favorite radio station. We're here for you. Second, subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite sites. YouTube and iTunes, Spotify and Google Play, TuneIn, Podbean, and more. Have the show automatically downloaded to your favorite device. Last, visit our website at HoosierReason.com. You can listen to the podcast, catch our special features, and more. It's the Voice of Reason on radio, TV, and online, helping you defend and preserve this great republic. Hey, it's Andy Hoosier with the Voice of Reason. The show's growing all the time, and as we talk about the big issues of the day, one of the big parts of the program is you. And I want you to join us on the program. Whether you agree, disagree, or just want to relieve some of that political frustration, we're here for you. No matter where you may be watching, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, go ahead and leave a comment on the live stream. Chat with other listeners and let me know your thoughts on the topic. Also chat with us on the Podbean chat room. Just go to our live stream of the show at podbean.com and chat with other listeners. You can also call into the program. Just download the Podbean app onto your smartphone, join the live stream, and call in through the app. This is your show, and we want to hear your thoughts. So go ahead and join us here on the Voice of Reason and the Hoosier Media Network. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with the Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hoosier-holic by going to HoosierReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe through any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hoosier Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HoosierReason.com. For a schedule of upcoming guests on the program, daily show topics, or to reach out to the Hoosier Media Network, visit us on the website at HoosierReason.com. Or for general inquiries, to be a guest on the program, or to have Andy a guest on your program, email us at HoosierMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Keep fighting for freedom with us every day right here on the Voice of Reason and the Hoosier Media Network. Now, back to the show.
You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
I love all the comments coming in on social media. We're on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn, the Podbean live stream as well for the audio, no matter where you may be. Appreciate it. Plus numerous different radio stations, TV, and online at HoosierReason.com. You can listen to us there. Coming up in just a few minutes, we have Congressman Bob Latta from the 5th Congressional District joining us, talk to us about the latest when it comes to the COVID relief packages being worked on, the USMCA trade deal that's going on, and mental health and more. So we'll get to that here in just a few minutes. I love the comments, though, asking whether Donald Trump is getting tired or wore out. No, he's just being dignified. It's a big thing. People are dying. He's showing respect, and he's just acting presidential. And a lot of people are liking it. So, all right. Guess he's not. I don't know. We're used to the feistiness that is Donald Trump, right? The feistiness that he has of going after the media, calling people out, doing the thing. But he is taking a different tone, and maybe it is a solemn moment because it's a very serious issue, and he's looking very presidential. Now, the media's not going to show that. The media's going to be, well, look at that. Donald Trump not really taking this serious. He looks exhausted. He looks like he's worn out. He looks like he's over his head. But that's just not the case. But then, of course, the media goes from, well, COVID, and why aren't you focusing on COVID, to you're a racist, and why is it Barack Obama's fault? And, oh, yeah, what do you respond to with Joe Biden?
Two more, please.
Yes, thank you. Would you like to respond to Joe Biden, who today described you might have heard that, as the first racist to be elected president? That was his words.
The first racist president. Ladies and gentlemen, if we've gotten to this point where we think Donald Trump is truly this evil racist, then we're just not paying attention. Naiveness and ignorance are two totally different things, but they're both very relevant in the world today. They're both very important because so many people are either naive or they're ignorant. One of them you just don't know because you've never been educated. The other one you have been educated, but you refuse to acknowledge it. Naiveness and ignorance. Very big things that are going on in the world today, are they not? Donald Trump has done some of the biggest justice reforms, prison reforms in the country. He's done some of the biggest reforms in inner cities with black community churches and black communities just all over than any other president. He's never said a racist thing, and they can try and claim, oh, he called all Mexicans criminals and this. No, he didn't. Go back and listen. Oh, he said that white supremacists were good people. No, he didn't. He said they were good people outside of their ideology. There were good people on both sides of those protests that happened, but the ideology themselves are very bad. When David Duke tried to actually embrace Trump with the quote-unquote alt-right, he shunned them. He said openly, I don't want their support. If he wants to support me, that's fine, but I got nothing to do with them. I don't know who this guy is. I don't want his support. He said it. But he's a racist. And by the way, those comments of like Donald Trump being the evil racist, that's coming from a guy who said that if you vote for Trump, then you ain't black. The words of Joe Biden. Putting them back on that plantation. You have to vote this way or else you're the evil person that's really not true to your color or skin. You have to vote this way. Putting the people back on where they were. Putting them back in their place, right? You are black, you are Asian, you are Native American. You need to go back in this nice little box that we've put you in. And if you don't, then you're the problem because we're here to take care of you. We're here to give you things. We're here to do things for you, not let you do things for yourself. Remember, conservatism is about equal opportunity, not equal outcome. And if that's what the progressives want is equal outcome, then we're in a way different playing field because that's not what the Constitution is actually all about. But this is coming. The guy that's calling Donald Trump the first racist president is the guy that literally went on to a podcast of a black guy and said, if you vote for Trump, then you ain't black. That's literally what he said. And he's not getting criticism for that. Because how dare that black people actually have different opinions on issues. You just ain't black if you vote for Donald Trump, period. That's end of story. That's who the Democrats are trying to protect while they criticize Donald Trump. When we come back, we'll play his response real quick. Then we'll get into our interview with Bob Latta from the 5th Congressional District of Ohio. We got a lot to get to today, plus a lockdown 2.0. Is that what you're prepared for? We'll do that and more when we come back. Stay here.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Hey, it's Andy Hoosier. While you listen to the delightful broadcast of The Voice of Reason, don't forget to check us out and follow us on all of our social media sites. Whether you're using Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Minds.com, or Instagram, we're there for you. Find us at Hoosier Reason on any of your social media platforms. You'll see special commentary, links to the articles and news that we use on the show, and videos of the broadcast. Plus, you can directly send us a message on social media during the show to let me know your thoughts. Many already do, and it's a great chat room for all of our great listeners. And you can always sign up for the Patreon site to get exclusive content, maybe hear show products before we air them on the radio, and a lot more. And when you support us on Patreon, you also help the show be able to fight for conservative values each and every day. So it's a win-win. Just find us at Hoosier Reason on all of your social media platforms, or you can find a link to all of our social media sites on our website at HoosierReason.com. We know you're on social media already, so bring some reason into your day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do.
The Hoosier Media Network is way more than just the voice of reason. It's your source to find numerous different online talk shows, podcasts, TV, and radio programs, all in one simple online location for you. From political talk to health talk to whatever you may be interested in, we're here for you. And I tell you, it's growing every day. Catch Tracy Maxfield with her podcast, Engage, Educate, and Empower, discussing mental health issues in children and teenagers. From bullying, teenage suicide, addiction, ADHD, and so much more, learn from Tracy and her guests about symptoms, signs, and ways to talk to your children, plus so much more. Having battled depression, being the author of the internationally acclaimed book, Escaping the Rabbit Hole, and being a retired nurse, Tracy is kind of the go-to on the subject. Make sure to find her on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, along with her website at tracymaxfield.com. Also, make sure to tune into the weekly podcast Jump, Pivot, and Roll with Shannon Stiles and Rachel Murphy. Taking that next big leap of faith is hard. Trying to write a book, maybe struggling with a relationship, looking to take that next big career step. What's stopping you? There's a lot of big questions there, and they're questions that Rachel and Shannon want to help with you each and every week. It's Jump, Pivot, and Roll on any of your favorite podcasting sites and on Facebook and YouTube. All of these shows and a heck of a lot more can be found on the Hoosier Media Network Facebook and YouTube channels. Make sure to follow and subscribe to check them out today. Follow all the shows, and if you have any inquiries, check us out at HoosierMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with the Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hoosierholic by going to HoosierReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe through any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hoosier Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HoosierReason.com. Oh, hi. You know, conservative messages now are more important than ever before. Election season, state legislative issues, and a rise in the radical left socialist progressive agenda. What we really need now more than ever before is knowledge and wisdom. That's where we come in. Hi, I'm Andy Hoosier with the Voice of Reason, and I'm your voice for reasonable talk, conservative commentary, great guests and entertainment on radio, TV, and the internet. It's time to bring some common sense back into the discussion. National issues, state legislative issues, no matter where you may be, upcoming elections, and a heck of a lot more, we can bring traditional values, constitutional principles, and local activism back. And here's what you can do. First, follow us on all the social media platforms at Hoosier Reason. You can watch the live stream of the show, leave comments, and even call into the program. Second, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on all of your audio devices, from iTunes and Spotify to Google Play and TuneIn, Make sure to subscribe to have every episode automatically downloaded so you don't miss a single episode. Third, make sure to visit our website at HoosierReason.com. You can catch our monthly blog talking about deeper discussions, see who's coming on the program, plus you can sign up for our free monthly newsletter to catch the latest on the show, monthly topics, upcoming interviews, and more. It's time to be that local activist again. That's what the Voice of Reason's all about. Why? Because that's kind of the reasonable thing to do. And it's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason.
Hey, it's Andy Hoosier with the Voice of Reason. The show's growing all the time, and as we talk about the big issues of the day, one of the big parts of the program is you. And I want you to join us on the program. Whether you agree, disagree, or just want to relieve some of that political frustration, we're here for you. No matter where you may be watching, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, go ahead and leave a comment on the live stream. Chat with other listeners and let me know your thoughts on the topic. Also chat with us on the Podbean chat room. Just go to our live stream of the show at podbean.com and chat with other listeners. You can also call into the program. Just download the Podbean app onto your smartphone, join the live stream, and call in through the app. This is your show, and we want to hear your thoughts. So go ahead and join us here on the Voice of Reason and the Hoosier Media Network.
When Reason Meets Radio. You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Yes, you are. Welcome into the Voice of Reason. Great to have you today for a Wednesday, halfway through the week. It goes by way too fast. Way too fast. Cramming 10 pounds of reason into a 5-pound bag because that's just what we do. Trying to rebrand the millennial generation one radio listener at a time because that's what we can do as well. The future of politics in this country lies in the hands of the millennial generation. And that scares me just a little bit. All right, real quickly, I want to play the response from President Trump because I thought it was hilarious about, what's your response to being the first racist president?
One or two more, please.
Thank you. Would you like to respond to Joe Biden, who today described you might have heard that, as the first racist to be elected president? That was his words.
Well, it's interesting because we did criminal justice reform. We passed criminal justice reform, something that Obama and Biden were unable to do. We did opportunity cities. We did the greatest. If you look at what we've done with opportunity zones, nobody's ever even thought of a plan like that. Prior to the China plague coming into our country and really doing terrible things all over the world, doing terrible things, we had the best African American, Hispanic American, Asian American, almost every group was the best for unemployment. The unemployment numbers were the best. You look at employment, you look at opportunity zones, and maybe most importantly, you look at criminal justice reform, you look at prison reform. I've done things that nobody else, and I've said this, and I say it openly, and not a lot of people dispute it. I've done more for Black Americans than anybody, with the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln. Nobody has even been close. Thank you very much, everybody.
Mic drop.
Winning.
Mic drop right there. I've done more for the Black Americans, except for maybe Abraham Lincoln, than any other president. Again, that's how you end a press conference. It's supposed to be related to COVID-19, right?
Winning.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, come on. You can stride around after you say something like that.
Don't act like you're not impressed.
All right. We sat down earlier this morning with Congressman Bob Latta from the 5th Congressional District to talk about, of the state of Ohio, by the way, to talk about the COVID-19 bills and the latest what's going on in Washington, D.C., and I want to play that interview because some really great information. Today, Congressman Bob Latta from the 5th District of Ohio, from the 5th Congressional District in the great state of Ohio. Congressman Bob Latta hanging out with us today. Congressman, how are you, my friend?
Andy, how are you today?
I am doing great. It's good to talk to you again. This coronavirus doesn't seem to go away. Just a few days ago, we had President Trump give another coronavirus update, which he hasn't done in a few months, saying that things could get worse before they get better. We see increases in numbers all over the place. Working from Washington, D.C., and some of the legislation and the stimulus packages you guys are working on, from your perspective and within your district in Ohio, how are things right now, and what could we look forward to in the near future?
We look at certain things we have to get in the future. We have to have the testing, and we have to have those tests done, and we get those results back quickly. And reports that I receive every night, it was, we're testing in some days over 825,000 people in this country. They want to get that up so that we're testing well over 1 million a day. And then not only with that, it'll help people know that, okay, maybe it's safe to go back to work, go back to school. But I've also been in contact with the Health and Human Services Secretary that one of the problems that we're experiencing out there is the length of time it is to get these test results back. It could be 5, 10, even, but it's really important that we get the testing up. I think it's great to know that we're closing almost having been tested. But again, it's getting those test results back. The PPP program, the Paycheck Protection Plan, is a great way to make sure that we can keep jobs going in this country. Yeah. One of the things that we have seen is that the number of companies that need the help or small businesses, is around 114,000 is what they're asking for, not these really large amounts, just to keep the businesses open on Main Street. So from everything from the PPP to the EIDL loans to making sure that we get the testing done, and then most importantly, we're making great progress on having a vaccine. Some people might say a cure, but we've never found a cure to the common cold. We've never found a cure to all of the flus that are out there that we are always getting vaccinated for every year. So I think it's really important that we do get that vaccine done ASAP. But when we were in committee several weeks ago with the NIH, with Dr. Fauci, and also with CDC and FDA and Human Services, it could be even at the end of this year. So, things are progressing. The president's, really said this is Operation Warp Speed. We got to get this thing done. It's got to get done ASAP.
Talk a little bit about, you actually led some legislation working on some mental health care services, which I think are drastically needed right now as we see a spike in maybe depression from losing jobs or different isolation issues. So talk about what you've been working on that front.
Well, again, serving on the Energy and Commerce Committee, we have the Health Subcommittee underneath of us. And so, I've sat through a lot of meetings, really tough meetings through the last several years, especially when we were dealing with the opioid crisis in this country. But of course, during this COVID-19, there's been a lot of need for mental health out there. And so I have legislation out there to help our crisis call centers, our mobile crisis centers, to make sure that there's help out there. Before this all started with COVID-19, just by coincidence, the chairman of the FCC Commission, Chairman Pai, was in my district, and we were talking about telehealth services and how important it is. And he also visited a crisis center in Northwest Ohio. And so it's really important that we have that, because we have a lot of folks that are suffering because of mental health issues dealing with COVID-19, and we want to make sure that those services are out there for these people, because, again, they need help right now. We can't wait down the road. So we're working on that legislation right now, and so it's important, because the other big part that we've seen through the whole COVID-19 experience is how telehealth services have really, really expanded. We had a very small amount of it occurring beforehand, and now, we've seen I've talked to doctors all over, and they said it's been a godsend that they've had the ability to do telehealth, that they can see patients quickly. And what we want to make sure is that through especially Medicare, that they're being reimbursed and making sure that their patients can be served. So telehealth has been a real big issue, and we want to make sure that it continues into the future.
I'm so glad you guys are focused on that. We're talking with Congressman Bob Latta from the 5th Congressional District in the great state of Ohio. And the mental health, as I mentioned, such an important issue, because it's not something that we've really focused a lot of attention on in the past. You had mentioned testing before, which testing is increasing massively all over the country, which is really nice. But talk about some of the relief packages you guys are working on. There's two that seem to be floating around right now, between the $1 trillion package and the $3 trillion package. What's some of the details included in those? Maybe some of the stimulus money that may be coming to citizens and households, and which one is more likely to be able to pass and get to the president's desk?
Well, the the $3 trillion dollar bill, and it's hard for me to just roll that off my tongue when I say trillion, $3 trillion piece of legislation that the Democrats passed without ever even working with Republicans on it. So it was a truly just partisan piece of legislation, more for just talking on their end instead of really sitting down and wanting to get to business on things. They put this thing out there. So in the Senate, that was dead on arrival. So that's off the table, you might say. The Senate's working on legislation. It's about $1 trillion, and again, it's hard for me to say that again, another $1 trillion. But they're looking at relief again to small businesses and helping the recovery out there and get things moving quickly. It's important as we go forward. But one of the things I've mentioned, and quite a few of us have, is that we have to see, especially when we think of the trillions of dollars that have been spent already on the packages that we've had, like everything from the Paycheck Protection Plan to making sure putting dollars in people's pockets to making sure that small businesses keep operating, that we want to really make sure that the dollars have been expended, that have already been appropriated, that the programs that they've gone into are working. So that's one of the things I really want to see as this comes out as to, show me what's worked. I know in West Central Ohio and across the country, one of the things I have heard from businesses, small, medium, and large, that because of what the Democrats added early on when this all started with the $600 additional per week for unemployment, and they wanted to, and that ends at the end of this month, that they wanted to run this through January the 31st of next year. That I've had so many businesses say they can't get back to operating because they can't get people back to work because the people are saying, hey, I make more money on unemployment than I do working.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't have that as a disincentive to work. And so that's another thing that we're really looking at, quite a few of us, as to, because the Democrats, as I said, wanted to extend that until the end of January of next year. And so we'll see right now what the Senate's coming up with in their proposal.
Well, there it is. Congressman Bob Latta from the 5th Congressional District in the state of Ohio, and some really interesting news. I really am curious to see what they come out with a final package when it comes to the coronavirus relief funding, with the paychecks going to stimulus money for individuals along with the unemployment claims. And is it going to be lowered a little bit? Is it going to be extended? What's it going to look like? Here in the state of Kansas, they're actually looking at extending their own state benefits for a longer period of time, for like 20 weeks or something, because it sounds like they're trying to do this for the long haul. The question is, how much money are we actually going to spend with a lot of these programs, and how much money are we going to spend that we're going to have to pay back, and that's going to devalue the dollar and really hurt the economy in really major ways? We'll talk about some of that when we come back, because it sounds like Lockdown 2.0 is right around the corner. What's that going to look like as many states are starting to slowly go that way? It's a Wednesday. It's The Voice of Reason. Your comments on social media. Also, email me, HoosierMediaNetwork@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you, and I will respond to you if you email to me there as well. Stay here. One more segment coming up.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Hey, it's Andy Hoosier. While you listen to the delightful broadcast of The Voice of Reason, don't forget to check us out and follow us on all of our social media sites. Whether you're using Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Minds.com, or Instagram, we're there for you. Find us at Hoosier Reason on any of your social media platforms. You'll see special commentary, links to the articles and news that we use on the show, and videos of the broadcast. Plus, you can directly send us a message on social media during the show to let me know your thoughts. Many already do, and it's a great chat room for all of our great listeners. And you can always sign up for the Patreon site to get exclusive content, maybe hear show products before we air them on the radio, and a lot more. And when you support us on Patreon, you also help the show be able to fight for conservative values each and every day. So it's a win-win. Just find us at Hoosier Reason on all of your social media platforms, or you can find a link to all of our social media sites on our website at HoosierReason.com. We know you're on social media already, so bring some reason into your day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Miss part of the show? Don't worry about it. There's plenty of ways to catch the program, and here's how you can do it. First, make sure to tune in every day right here on your favorite radio station. We're here for you. Second, subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite sites. YouTube and iTunes, Spotify and Google Play, TuneIn, Podbean, and more. Have the show automatically downloaded to your favorite device. Last, visit our website at HoosierReason.com. You can listen to the podcast, catch our special features, and more. It's the Voice of Reason on radio, TV, and online, helping you defend and preserve this great republic. Hey, it's Andy Hoosier. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you, and we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts of the show, maybe a guest we've had on the program, or my favorite, when you disagree with something that I talk about. You can email me at HoosierMediaNetwork@gmail.com or send us a message through our website at HoosierReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you. So be heard and be your own voice of reason. Again, email me at HoosierMediaNetwork@gmail.com or find our contact information at HoosierReason.com.
Oh, hi. You know, conservative messages now are more important than ever before. Election season, state legislative issues, and a rise in the radical left socialist progressive agenda. What we really need now more than ever before is knowledge and wisdom. That's where we come in. Hi, I'm Andy Hoosier with the Voice of Reason. And I'm your voice for reasonable talk, conservative commentary, great guests and entertainment on radio, TV, and the internet. It's time to bring some common sense back into the discussion. National issues, state legislative issues, no matter where you may be, upcoming elections, and a heck of a lot more, we can bring traditional values, constitutional principles, and local activism back. And here's what you can do. First, follow us on all the social media platforms at Hoosier Reason. You can watch the live stream of the show, leave comments, and even call into the program. Second, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on all of your audio devices, from iTunes and Spotify to Google Play and TuneIn. Make sure to subscribe to have every episode automatically downloaded so you don't miss a single episode. Third, make sure to visit our website at HoosierReason.com. You can catch our monthly blog talking about deeper discussions, see who's coming on the program, plus you can sign up for our free monthly newsletter to catch the latest on the show, monthly topics, upcoming interviews, and more. It's time to be that local activist again. That's what the Voice of Reason's all about. Why? Because that's kind of the reasonable thing to do. And it's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with the Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hoosierholic by going to HoosierReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe through any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hoosier Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HoosierReason.com. Hey, I hope you're enjoying the program today. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite podcasting sites and have the show automatically downloaded to your phone or computer every single day. Just find us on any podcasting site or go to HoosierReason.podbean.com. And be sure to check out our Patreon site, become the ultimate Hoosierholic, and help us fight for conservative values every day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Now back to the national broadcast of the Voice of Reason.
You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Yes, you are. One more segment wrapping up today on a Wednesday. Thanks for hanging out with us each and every day. Appreciate it more than you can ever imagine as we continue to grow. The podcast downloads are doing great. You can always find the podcast on any podcasting site. You just type in Hoosier Reason or the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier, and it'll come up. You can listen to it. You can subscribe on some and follow us. You can go to the HoosierReason.com and you can follow the podcast right there. You can see the podcasting site. You can see the last show on video. You can leave comments. You can email us. You can become a Hoosierholic. We're getting near towards the end of the month, which means you can subscribe and become a Hoosierholic and get the monthly newsletter that'll go out at the beginning of the month. So get ready to do that as well. And we appreciate it very much. All right, so the lockdown 2.0. Yeah. Come on, everybody's excited for the lockdown 2.0, right? The numbers are increasing. Now, the death level, and we've talked about this the last couple of days, the death rate is still plateaued, but the number of cases is skyrocketing. So we shouldn't care that people aren't actually dying more with more cases being out there. We should just be concerned that more people actually have it. And the fact that 96, 97, 98% of them are actually asymptomatic, they don't show any symptoms, isn't a cause at all, or isn't a concern, or isn't a bother to talk about in the science. It's all about the science that a couple people did die from it. Not a couple, a decent amount of people did die from it, unfortunately, more than we'd like to see. But statistically, compared to the population and compared to the number of positive cases that we have, it's still minuscule, like teeny tiny, with how small that number actually is. So we should be concerned, right? So what's your community actually doing right now? Here in the state of Kansas, our governor tried to impose a mandatory mask wearing deal, and most local municipalities and county commissions did not approve it. They said, we're not going to enforce it. Law enforcement were the first ones that came out that said, we have no way to enforce this. We're understaffed. We have more pertinent things to worry about. We're not going to worry about it. So they've tried, and cities tried to do ordinances here and there, but law enforcement's like, good luck, because we're not going to enforce this. Just yesterday, I guess officially today, the Sedgwick County here in our county, I know this is getting for people that aren't in this area, but this is an example because it's happening elsewhere. In our county here, our health department signed an executive order, and the county voted on it and tweaked it a little bit, but passed it, saying that effective on Friday this week, that they're re-limiting mass gatherings to 15 individuals. They're closing down bars and nightclubs, and they were going to limit restaurants to only being open at 10 till 10 o'clock at night. Now they actually got rid of that part. That was the only change they really did. Face masks are not required for children under the age of 11, and swimming pools are exempt from the order. This does, again, it doesn't make any sense to me. First off, I don't know why you're so racist against bars and nightclubs, because you could get it just as much walking down the street with a group of people as you can sitting in a bar and having a drink. Why the bars? You can get it just as much standing in line at a Walmart or a Home Depot or a Lowe's or wherever than you do a bar. Why the bars and restaurants, or why the bars and nightclubs? The restaurants, again, apparently you can have a drink there, but that's not going to spread the virus. It's only if you're doing it at a bar. Doesn't make any sense to me. Face mask wearing not required for children under the age of 11. Yet children, they can still get it, can't they? That's why they're trying to mandate mask wearing for children in public schools. But it's not going to be mandatory for now, at least here in our area. So how are you going to enforce this? And really, that's what it came down to with most of our county commission, at least, is, okay, the governor wants to do these things. How are you going to enforce said thing? How are you going to do it? Law enforcement doesn't want to enforce it, and there's no reason to enforce it because we're not going to go around and we're not going to rat out people because that's dumb, although we do have a quote-unquote snitch line that they've set up for the state and for the county and for the city. So they do have a line that people can call and complain, and law enforcement will come out and educate you on this. In the city of Las Vegas, we have some listeners out in Las Vegas as well. According to news3lv.com and KSNV, the city of Las Vegas is now sending out compliance ambassadors to help educate businesses about the state's mask mandates. So if you have a business and you're not mandating people to wear the mask, you're not going to get the cops called on you. You're going to have compliance ambassadors come out. This kind of reminds me of like a social worker in replacement of a cop saying, we're going to come to a domestic dispute case and we're going to come and talk to you. We're not going to like resolve it and try and use force to actually stop something from, we're just going to talk to you. A compliance ambassador. It's like a blue helmet from the UN. I'm really scared. Come and get me. I'll wear my mask, I promise. A compliance ambassador. And by the way, that's being paid for with your taxpayer money in Las Vegas, so kudos to you on that one. I feel bad for you out in Las Vegas. That's crazy. The stupid of the world, lockdown 2.0. I think our patience is running out, so therefore they can try a lockdown again, a quarantining nationwide, but I don't think people are going to comply because we're just tired of it. I think our stress level has hit that point. We're just not going to do it any longer. That does it for us today. Back at it here soon. Make sure to tune in. The podcast going up in a little bit. We're all over radio, TV, HoosierReason.com. Make sure and go and check it out. Until then, be your own voice of reason. It's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. This is the Voice of Reason. Everybody have a great Wednesday evening. Hey, it's Andy Hoosier with the Voice of Reason. Fighting for conservative principles seems more difficult all the time. The progressive left seems to find new and creative ways to limit freedom, abuse power, and trample the Constitution each and every day. That's why we need the knowledge, resources, and common sense to push back, and we can help with that. Visit our website at HoosierReason.com. There's some really great stuff for you. You can read the latest blog discussing topical issues and current events. Let us know your thoughts by filling out our monthly survey. Keep track of what I might be doing or where I may be speaking. Listen to the podcast of your favorite guest or show, and check out our latest Voice of Reason product infomercials. Plus, you can find upcoming show schedules and guest lineups to plan your radio listening appropriately. And finally, make sure to become a Hoosier-holic by subscribing to the free newsletter. Stay up to date on the latest news of the show, fun facts of the month, and learn new ways to defend and preserve this great republic. It's all there at HoosierReason.com. Again, HoosierReason.com. Go check it out. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do.